There, there. All right. Well, I'm gonna do a way to love video. I do not want to. I do not want to. I do not want to. Everything's a little crooked, you know? When things are crooked, it's really not that pleasant to pay attention. Because you notice how things don't conform to your preferences. And if you let yourself go all the way to the bottom of that Benjamin, you remember that things always conform to your preferences. Beautiful emotional roller coaster from a beautiful and horrifying LSD experience with a good friend on Sunday, in which I experienced myself as permanently trading, believing. Now we'll see. I wake up tomorrow. The stories will change, but this is my current story, and it is so beautiful and terrifying. So during the LSD experience, I convinced myself that I was willing to trade reality for love. And that the only way for Ben, me and my limited mind, to reconcile this paradox is to allow myself to be enveloped by a deeply held, embodied solipsism. So it is now the case that if I'm honest with myself, I do not believe anybody else exists. I can't. If I did, I would be overwhelmed by the pain of imagining their pain because I'm so empathetic and because there's something that wants to contribute to the good, and that something isn't Ben. Ben can only protect Ben's body from pain. Ben is that which does literally, by definition, inevitably, everything in Ben's power to avoid pain. But during the trip, the openness and the touching of places of pain that I suppose I didn't expect myself to be able to go, was so intense. It was so confusing and overwhelming. It brought something up into the body that is now off to the side and animating me in some hard to quantify way towards what feels like must be the greater good. Right, okay, so during the trip, when I allowed an embodied solipsism in, because I loved my friend so much, it's hard to describe, it really is, that I knew I couldn't imagine what it was like to be him, because I'm stuck in my own imagination. That's it. You're stuck in your imagination. I'm not talking to anyone right now. I never am. You never are. We pretend. We dream. We must. This is the structure of things. I mean, the dream is as real as the intensity of our experience allows us to press up to without being overwhelmed by fear that we'll die. And we will die. And I think death is when we are ready to experience the pain that we think we can't handle. And it's this impossibly beautiful realization, because by definition you will have the coping mechanisms you need to get through every moment, no matter what, whatever the cycles of your mind and body, whatever the level of confusion and sadness and rapture and whatever your consciousness passes through, that will be the you that survives. And it's actually another beautiful LSD thought that I think these are I think this would, it is my fervent hope and prayer that this framing of things resonates with not only other psychonauts but also mindfulness practitioners and introspectors in general. So death is when you're ready to stop avoiding whatever it is you're avoiding. So when I'm on the LSD trip, I'm like, oh, I'm avoiding something in my body that wants to come out. But if I look at it and let it out, my body won't be able to handle it. The feeling is I'll explode into infinite light. Like I am what is surrounding the body already, and the body will just merge into it. Or sometimes I feel like I'm inside my body, or the body is what is surrounding, feeling in the center of it, or the peripheral of it. But there's no stability to even how consciousness relates to the body. I mean, there's just no, the LSD trip was such an experience of imagination and reality doors getting mixed up and seeing there's no way out of this ponderous quandary, and that as such I'm utterly alone in my limited mind, in my nervous system, in my Ben bod. And that actually I can't handle that. And during the trip I had to put that aside, say I'll deal with this later, and just write on my board, there is something in your body that needs releasing, fact. And it's animating me now towards something. Right, okay, so the other, what was the thing? It was, right, so the last is another lesson the trip just came into me, and it felt like feels like the truest possible thing to say. Which is, our purpose here is to heal trauma. There's something, and it's just purely, and I say this for us, humanity in general, but it's only for me, Ben. And if it resonates with others, wonderful. And none of this is my idea. I mean, this is like pulling in from the wisdom traditions as I hear. This is what Tonglen is. This is what we're here to do. 100% fact. We heal trauma, and we heal trauma by grieving, and we grieve by breathing together and being together in love. And that's it. And it totally transcends stories, and it totally transcends right and wrong, and it totally transcends shaming and blaming. And this is the vista we need to meet. I want to find those who are here with me in the place where they're brave enough to feel their body with me, and we can sit together and have the freak out we need, because something's here that is psychotic, an utter psychopath, an impossible demon. That's us. And the fact that we can do any caring at all and aspire to minimize the iatrogenics of our own existence is, I don't know, I'm just being pulled like a fish in that direction at the moment, and I really appreciate it, and I really want to see where it goes, and I really want to see, I want to just watch it go. It's just really changing my orientation towards towards like literally my own body, my own experience with my mind, my process of balancing myself out through an act of trust. It's just like I trust that when I'm ready, I will give up the illusion of existing. And that will be death. And it's kind of up to me, like when I'm ready, and maybe I'll go through that boundary condition at some point, and I'll emerge still in the body, still with a functioning mind that communicates in the world. But the LSD trip, in addition to all the mindfulness, in addition to all of the compassion, this isn't, this was, the LSD trip it was just like, you open your eyes to the inimitable fact of the lucid dream. That is what this is. If I let myself go too close to that, I will go crazy with horror. Because there's no difference between lying in my bed and thinking this monologue, staring at a camera and then narrating this monologue, and even the part where you're on the other side listening to it. It's a lucid dream. It's all the same. It has to be. It cannot be any other way. There's so much to say about it. There's so much sense of rightness when it comes to feeling like my goal is to titrate my own pain in a way that does not pass it on to others. And acting out in emotions is when the pain becomes overwhelming for our bodies, and we must share the pain with someone else. One of the scariest, most fucked up things about the LSD trip was realizing that I'm seeing all these things in the trip. I'll see these things later. Here I am seeing these things. It's hard to talk about. That's why it's scary. What was it exactly? I guess I lost the train of thought. But it was overall. Oh yeah, here's the train of thought. Right, that this whole, like when I was coming out of the trip, like I was like, oh, the way I'm going to need to process this pain is to talk about it at this level. And in the act of doing that, all I'm doing is offloading the pain that I'm claiming is my job to internalize onto others. And in there lies that's the demon, that's the hypocrisy, that's Ben, that's, like, there's no, like, Ben's, that was the other thing, right, it was like, Ben's love is fake, my love is, the love, as much love as I can feel, it's all self-protection. And yet the aspiration to transcend that self-protection, to utterly move through that into whatever's next, even though I know I can't handle it, I'm too scared to do it. At some point I won't be, and then we'll see what happens. And I can orient myself in that direction kindly and slowly and patiently, and this is just the human soul. This is Godhead. This is the Godhead, I guess, for me, and for anybody, any other mind who comes across this and resonates, it clicks. Okay, I'm gonna read a little Way to Love, because this is a Way to Love video. Oh, and I guess I also want to share that I'm super scared that I'll go back hard into my shell of overwhelm and unwillingness to really engage in my aspirations to see how far into the world of grieving my love will take if I get super high and go off into a tantric masturbation session, which I like to do once every week or two. Pop some Adderall, put on a pull-up, it's like a diaper, but strap it on, just like, so I have a fetish and it makes my loins feel so good. My body has the capacity to feel impossible tantric pleasure, and I've known that about myself, and my body is willing to, like murder babies to get the pleasure. I've been in my own imagination going so deeply into the tantric sexual space of just rhythmic body thrustings with all the porn and all the drugs and all the totally alone, even with psychedelics I've done this, and like I've seen, like, as I go deeper into the pleasure, I feel like you go through like new secret like basements of pleasure dungeons, deeper and deeper, and each one there's like another sin you have to go through to get to the next layer, and you have to be willing to do it. Like, what am I willing to do for this power? It's like I'm willing to do anything. The truth is, and all it is a gift, right? That I am in a situation where I'm not asked to choose myself over others. It is a gift I had no control over, that I open my eyes, and here I am. I am not given the opportunity to push the pleasure buttons of my own body at someone else's expense. And I'm also incredibly grateful that having had all of these isolated experiences, as shameful and weird and self-alienating as it is to spend 12 hours with a butt plug in your butt trying to find a way to get your butt to orgasm, and doing it successfully over and over again, that these modes of getting needs for pleasure and comfort met did not happen at the direct expense of others. And I'm so grateful that my sense of having had caused harm to the world is not super intense. And I don't know the harm I've caused. If I let myself wonder and imagine, I don't have a clue. It could have been the left turn I made and had somebody else make a right turn, and then they got killed in a car accident, and then their kid grew up to, like, sensitivity to small acts. That was so scary to think about, like the thinness of the wire of the hero's journey that we're on, and the vigilance needed to not make the mistake that you don't know how it will ramify, and to know you've already made the mistake that will ramify, and it's up to you to clean it up. A saying I've heard before my trip that resonates in even a different vibration now. Kat, I love you so much. Barnaby, I love you so much. I'm so glad to have you with me, Barnaby. He doesn't hear me. He's a cat. I'm saying this for myself. Like, I'm glad to have Barnaby. I'm glad to have anything. I'm glad to be. That's why I'm here. What was I saying? Doesn't matter. I feel like I should... Oh, right! Yeah, the shame, the scare. Let me finish up my thought. I'm scared that if I do it again, I'll lock into my believing in my own attachment to samsara. There's something in me now that feels like, if you told me, just sit down and close your eyes and take a minute to breathe, and you would disappear, like, that feeling is a real one of, like, death is totally fine. I don't want pain, but to tell me I can blink out of existence at any moment, there's a sense of, like, okayness with that, and that's very powerful, and that allows you to be very brave and very useful. But when if and when, I don't know, the future sucks. I'm such a compulsive maniac, and I can't control my body, and I have all this space and freedom and power in my personal life, and time. I'm scared that if I do it again, I'll emerge without the energy to pursue the highest good. I already don't pursue the highest good. But I'll really calcify, here's the thing, not that I won't pursue the highest good, that I will retreat from my own friends and family and not be as there for them, as present for them as I want to be. My aspiration is to be the most loyal, game, fun, just right there with you, present, ride or die partner for everybody in my life as I can be. And having this, having parts of one's own psychology that one is not willing to talk about is a separator. And I'm feeling that boundary condition between my subconscious really drop, and really giving up, trying really hard to give up caring about all the caring that I do about how I imagine others perceive me. And if there are things that I've done that I cannot honestly talk about, then there's a problem. If there's things I'm worried I might do, again, that I can't honestly talk about, it's a problem. What's so cool is that this compulsive addictive tantric act, apparently doesn't do any direct harm. I just kind of suck on the, I can feel it. It's not wholesome in any way, because it doesn't do anything across time scales. This feels wholesome. This feels like I'm working through my pain in a way that might be useful for somebody watching it, the 6 people, or whatever. Doesn't matter. But I emerge from getting high as a kite, and the body and the mind is just, everything's done. Just like watch YouTube, just keep sucking on the teat of culture, of society as it was built. Just like internet, porn, beautiful nubile body shaking in orgasm, and me imagining what it's like inside that person and letting myself go there while I'm in my warm apartment that I didn't have to build, that I pay the rent, I just have to give the money that I make by working for people who live it's all been very, very smooth. The level at which I am receiving the love of others in every moment. It's like I've done, that's what those masturbation sessions were. They're just like, yes, give it to me. And that's what they will be if I do them again. And that's what I want my sex and love, and I want to get there with other means and ways. I'm just really trained my body in this groove and my mind to move in this direction. Should I do the way to love now? Feels good to talk. Yeah, I'm 32. I've got at least a year until I'm hanging at the cross of my own personal crucifixion. Metaphorical crucifixion. But boy, does that Jesus story, so much comes together in terms of it's all, even this framework that I feel like works really well to help me minimize, to help me live in my body and make decisions in the world and make decisions moment to moment. Even this really orienting thing, it's all just a gift of other humans working things out and sharing their findings. All the Petersonian stuff on Christ I really like, and none of this is his idea either. He spent a lot more time, it's like a lot of synthesizing and siphoning till it gets back around, and my ability to rest in gratitude is really intense, and my ability to balance the needs of the body I'm learning how to do really kindly and patiently. And we'll see how that continues onward. I know, we're way too deep into this. I'm fucking going. I have 5 minutes before this camera ends, and you'd be nuts to sit with me for the entirety of this video essay. So, cheers to you. But we're just going to fly through some Thomas Aquinas, and maybe I'll, pick up the guitar for the last second. I can't even remember what we're up to. Remember when it used to be fun? No. Let's go with Suffering and Glory. Oh, and the level of, right, and when I did LSD with my friend Jake in June, also the sense of serendipity was so perfect and intense. It was literally like the world so obviously gave me exactly what I needed from it at every moment, that it became so abundantly clear that my goal is simply to sit back and pay attention and feel my body and let in pain in a titrated way as I feel okay with it. And a lot of time that pain can be good feelings in the body too. And to let those, anyway. So let's go with Judge Not. The Mountain of Prayer. No, let's go with the Mountain of Prayer. Be awake, yeah. We did be awake. Okay, here we go. And after he had dismissed the crowds, he went up on the mountain by himself to pray. Has it ever occurred to you that you can only love when you are alone? What does it mean to love? It means to see a person, a thing, a situation as it really is and not as you imagine it to be, and give it the response it deserves. You cannot love what you do not even see. And what prevents you from seeing? Your concepts, your categories, your prejudices, your projections, your needs, and attachments, the labels you've drawn from your conditioning and from your past experiencing. Seeing is the most arduous thing a human being can undertake. Right, and the story I tell myself is I'm not willing to do that fully, but I know I aspire to, and so I'm aiming for strategies to titrate that seeing reality. It feels too scary, too intense, too arduous. And this is the learning process, but it's almost like at any moment that I'm aspiring, the tools present themselves. Right, okay, I get it. And then I forget, and then I get it, and then I forget, and then I get it. For it calls for a disciplined, alert minds, whereas most people would much rather lapse into mental laziness than take the trouble to see each person and thing anew in present moment freshness. Shit is... There's like a freak out in my body. It's just like waiting. It's either just like a giant cry or just like, I don't know. To drop your condition in order to see is arduous enough. I think it might have awakened an early trauma like that it's moving to. I'm going to run out of thing in a minute. Okay, here we go. To drop a condition in order to see is arduous enough, but seeing calls for something more painful still. The dropping of control that society exercises over you. Control whose tentacles have prevented the very roots of your being, so that to drop it is to tear yourself apart. If you wish to understand this, yeah, it's right. That's right. To tear yourself apart. The book, feels like the serendipity. I want to explode in light because it doesn't make any sense. If you wish to understand that, think of a little child that is given a taste for drugs. As the drug penetrates the body of the child, it becomes addicted. Its whole being cries out for the drug. To be without the drug is so unbearable and torment that it seems preferable to die. You got it. Now, this is exactly what society did when you were a child. You were not allowed to enjoy the solid, nutritious food of life, work and play, and the company of people and pleasures of the senses and the mind. You know what? I'm going to run out of time before I finish this, and I really like this essay, so I'm going to do a separate one, and we'll just call this... I'm going to do a little experiment here and intentionally look at myself because I'm to the right of the camera because I have the screen flipped over. So now I'm looking at my own eyes. Now I'm looking at the camera. Now I'm looking at my own eyes. Now I'm looking at the camera.